Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Lasagna, and this is episode number 244 of this icy yet spicy podcast for all those filthy casual takes on the world of sports, for you filthy casual sports fans out there like you and me. In this episode, we're here to talk about some wrestling. Yes, we're going to take a little bit of a detour from the NFL playoffs because the conference championships are still a couple days away. So we have some time between now and the NFC and AFC championship games that we have to preview and talk a little bit of wrestling. And in this episode, where we're going to be talking about wrestling, we're going to put a bow on something. We're going to put on a bow on a specific feud that I've been interested in. I've been heavily invested in for, I'd say, almost a year or so. And that feud is involving Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley and that Women's World Championship and a bunch of other things that have been going on in that feud in the last year plus. So there was definitely a lot going on in that feud, whether it was for good or for bad or for ugly. And we're going to put a bow on all those things in this episode and what I took away from it and pretty much the aftermath that we've seen so far. And you're probably wondering, as you're listening to, if you came across this podcast, why are you talking about this feud when it's basically been over for about 2 weeks now, when it ended on the debut episode of Raw on Netflix? Well, playoffs. Yeah, we've been covering the NFL playoffs, the end of the regular season here on Very Cold Lasagna. And I know some of you say, oh, that's an excuse. I mean, admittedly, yeah, it is basically. So I pretty much had no room to talk about this Liv Morgan Rhea Ripley feud, give my final thoughts on it, and until now, pretty much until now. Plus, I also wanted to see what the aftermath was going to be like as well. So yeah, it technically did give me an excuse to wait. Admittedly, I hate to do that, but admittedly, yes. And for those that were wondering, like, why didn't you talk about this sooner? Okay, I'm sorry. But anyway, yeah, I did put it off because I also wanted to see what both of them were gonna come out of it was gonna look like. And well, I'd say we're getting a decent idea of how it is so far. And we'll talk about it here in this episode. And of course, what my takeaways were throughout this whole feud. And this 8, 9 month, 10 month feud. So a lot to take away from as we discuss it here in this debriefing of this Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley feud. So before we get into that, though, a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Of course, like I said, we'll be back to resuming our NFL playoff coverage with the NFC and AFC championship game. That preview will be in the next episode. And then, yeah, we'll be on to the Super Bowl. And then make sure to follow Very Cold Lasagna on social media at Very Cold Lasagna, wherever I'm at. Those links are in the YouTubes and then on the audio side of things as well. Speaking of the audio side of things, for all my audio listeners out there, continue to listen to the Very Cold Lasagna podcast wherever it's available, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And for all my YouTube watchers out there, make sure to keep on smashing the like button, smashing the subscribe button. If you're not already, you should subscribe. And then leave your comments down below with your own takes on each and every topic at hand. For this instance, it's the Liv Morgan Rhea Ripley feud. Your final thoughts on it, what you thought about the feud, what you took away from it, and what you're thinking about the aftermath so far. And as always, share this with your friends, share this with your neighbors, share this with a stranger, share this with your colleagues, whether it's at work or at school. Share the good, the bad, the ugly about this filthy casual podcast entitled Very Cold Lasagna. So, that being said, let's actually let me just say this first. Because I feel like for people that don't watch the video in full or listen to the podcast in full, like this episode in full, I feel like I really need to say this before I get started, because this feud, like these two performers, they have a really touchy fan base. They really have a really touchy fan base. So I feel like I have the need to say this. Like this episode, it's going to detail the characters and the characters only, the gimmicks and the gimmicks only, and the booking and the booking only. Like This has absolutely nothing to do with the people behind it, behind the character, behind the gimmick. It's only within the television realm. It's only the TV product, okay? I'm exploring what's happening within the characters, within the gimmicks, within the story. Okay? If you're still offended by that somehow, I don't know what to tell you. This is just my opinion on what has happened within the realm of this feud, within the realm of the TV product of this feud. And if you're still somehow offended by my opinions of what I have to say, even if admittedly, my opinions are garbajo, then okay, we can have a civil debate about it. We can have a civil conversation about it in the comments on YouTube, or you can send me a message on my Twitter or my Instagram. I don't know what to tell you. But I'm giving you a fair warning now. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or you're watching this on YouTube, this is your fair warning now, because what I'm gonna say, it's my brutally honest thoughts on this feud. Some people liked it, and some people didn't like it, but I'm gonna give you my thoughts on what I thought about this feud, just very shortly. So, when it came to this Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley feud, I felt like, when we were thinking about this in the summer of 2023, I felt like this is a feud that needed to happen. When we got to 6-7 months down the line, this felt like for as delusional as we thought, a WrestleMania feud because how the intensity level, how personal this was, and as we described the events of why that was, it's certainly going to feel that way. But I know it's the past now, but it's certainly feeling that way. But how did we even get to this point? How did we even get to this point when it came to this feud? Well, we have to look back to the beginning. We have to look to why is this even here? How we even got here, especially for those that haven't really gotten the grasp of paying attention to this feud, or just overlooked it, or they have looked into it, but not as in like too hardcore. Sometimes I don't look at it hardcore either. They don't look into it between the lines. And don't worry, admittedly, I don't look into it at the lines either, admittedly. But what I'm saying is, they either don't look into this feud and just watch it for things that they're interested in, it's just fine too, or they look into this feud but not in the way that some people do either. So let's look at the beginning. How did this all come about? So Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley, they're doing their own thing prior to February 2022. They have their own career paths, and then one day Vince McMahon pairs them up together for WrestleMania 38 season, and they put them together as a tag team. Now, keep in mind, this is Rhea Ripley's second tag team partner on the main roster, after Nikki Cross betrayed her just a month ago. So it was another makeshift tag team for Rhea, not even a month after there's another friendship and betrayal thing that Vince did. But anyway, Rhea and Liv were put together as part of the women's tag team title fatal 4-way match at WrestleMania. But I will say, even though I wasn't really watching at the time, so I was kind of having to go backwards a bit. I will say, for a makeshift tag team, and for someone that was kind of revisiting during that a couple of months later, for a makeshift tag team, Rhea and Liv actually worked very well together. I pretty much understood why they were very popular with the live crowds and on social media, and for the right reasons. Okay, for the right reasons, not the what reasons. Okay, and that's even if they didn't end up winning the tag team titles at Mania. And it's a shame though that they didn't stick around longer together. So, the duo would lose a tag team title match 2 weeks later after WrestleMania to Sasha Banks, now known as Mercedes Moné, and Naomi on Raw. And afterwards, Rhea would attack Liv and leave her laying with the Riptide, despite the two making up a couple weeks prior. So, yeah, that triggered the events that where we are today. That would be the setting point. Now it's been debated by many fans when this new feud started, the one that we had for since last April, whose fault it was. Some said it was Liv, some said it was Rhea, but that's neither here or there at this point. But in actuality, the Liv and Rhea feud, it actually started, at least the first iteration of it started back when Rhea first turned heel. She first joined the OG Judgment Day, as I like to call it. Yes, some will say, "Oh, did you hear about the Judgment Day?" Yeah, it was Edge's Judgment Day, or as I like to say, Copeland Day, because that's Edge's. Adam Copeland. In AEW now. Yeah, we only call him by Edge. Anyway, so Edge. Rhea joins Edge's Judgment Day, the OG Judgment Day with him and Damian Priest. Yeah, the Supernatural Judgment Day. So, Rhea joins that, and she pretty much blames Liv for everything. And then they target Liv along with AJ Styles and Finn Balor. So they come together, Liv, AJ, and Finn, to go up against the Judgment Day, the OG one. But Rhea wins this 6-person tag team match at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Yeah, that gimmick pay-per-view was still there back then. And then, yeah, that you think that the feud would continue from there, but no, it isn't. But it is important to note, though, that the next night on Raw, after that pay-per-view, 2 things occurred, which would change the directory of that group. Finn would actually join the Judgment Day, despite eating the pin from Edge. I don't remember the exact reason why, but it had to do with him coming to a realization that, he was made for the group or something. I don't remember the exact reason, but it was also that Edge would get kicked out of the group. That I think it's that Damian said, "We're ready to take over the WWE, except without you, Edge." And I'm still in the belief that Edge got kicked out because either he didn't like the direction of the Judgment Day 2.0, and then also it had to do with Cody getting injured at the time, and Raw was basically left without any baby faces. So Edge also had to turn babyface because, well, they didn't have anybody. So when it came to Rhea and Liv, though, they basically went on their own merry way. Rhea started gaining traction and popularity with the new mommy character alongside the newly recruited Dominic Mysterio. They had their own partnership going, while Liv went over to SmackDown, won Money in the Bank, and she would get her first taste of World Championship glory, being the SmackDown Women's Champion, despite really bad booking. But that's besides all that. They would meet each other again at the Royal Rumble, being the final 2. Rhea winning the Royal Rumble, and that began her big rise to stardom, and then win the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania. And yeah, it was nowhere but up for Rhea from there. So they would rarely run into each other for the next year, but July of 2023 would be the turning point of their rivalry, where they would collide again. And that's when the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour started to plant its early seeds, because it didn't actually start out that way, but it ended up being a happy accident when Rhea attacked Liv and her partner Raquel Rodriguez before their tag team title defense on an episode of Raw, because Rhea was angry at the fact that they were getting in her business, even though they were just saving Natalya from an attack on Rhea. And as a result, Liv and Raquel lost the tag team titles, as Raquel was selling a knee injury that Rhea aggravated to further build their feud. And then later in the night, you have Liv taking out Rhea as payback during the Judgment Day's own tag team title match. But then little did we know at the time that Liv re-injured her shoulder during that attack. So the next week on Raw, you have this match between Liv and Rhea that never takes place. And then Rhea brutalizes Liv's shoulder, quote unquote, tearing her shoulder. And she gets written off. Liv later describes it as, having surgery on her shoulder in multiple areas. And that begins Liv's quest for revenge. Having seen Rhea ascend to the top of the WWE while Liv is forced to watch on, basically describing it later in her interviews. So, yeah. While Rhea continued her long reign into 2024, Liv was watching on and on, laying out the seeds for her revenge tour. So that basically brings to where we are within the last year at this point. Liv returning at the Royal Rumble as the last entrant, but her hopes of getting a step closer to her revenge for Rhea fell short. Now, we didn't really know her intentions of why she came back, but pretty much where we were at this time when it came to, who's going to win the Royal Rumble? Who's going to win the Royal Rumble? Is it going to be Bayley? Is it going to be Becky? Some people said Liv. And I was one of the people in the camp that said Liv Morgan should win it because you have a ready-made story of Liv wanting to exact revenge on Rhea and take the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania. And some people were like, no. She's like, she's not a main event player. But I mean, people were really adamant about it because, yeah, sure, she's not ready, but you don't know if you don't try. But nonetheless, she just doesn't win it. And she goes on to proclaim the start of the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, and is basically revenge on the people that wronged her, and the people that got in her way of getting the ultimate revenge on Rhea Ripley. It was off to a very rough start, being runner-up in the Elimination Chamber as well, losing matches to Nia Jax and Becky Lynch, and then being left off of WrestleMania completely. Once again, being forced to watch Rhea continue her path to the top, solidify her spot at the top against Becky Lynch. So, yeah, all Liv can do was watch, pretty much. So, yeah, like, it was a tough time. It was a really tough time, not just for Liv, but also for pretty much the fan base as well. It's like, she got back, but then you don't really have a sense of direction for her. It was just like kind of weird if you think about it. But then the corner was about to turn. Liv decides to, like, they book her to finally take action. Triple H finally decides to have her take action, albeit, not the way that I think about it. She decides to take action, even if it meant by playing dirty with a backstage attack on Rhea the night after WrestleMania. And you think that, okay, this finally is a match that's going to take place at Backlash, even though I was adamantly against it, because I thought it was going to be one and done. If you go to the match at Backlash, it was going to be one and done. But then this left the backstage attack ends up hurting Rhea's shoulder legitimately, not to the fault of Liv, but not to the fault of Rhea also. But yeah, either way, Rhea gets legitimately hurt in it, and she has to vacate the women's world title. But they write it in a way where Liv calls it karma, rightfully so. An eye for an eye, a shoulder for a shoulder, tooth for a tooth. Pretty much karma in its very finest, as Liv likes to quote it. So pretty much writing the next chapter in their feud, one that people have been waiting for, when Rhea wrote Liv off for her injury. So while Rhea's away, Liv finally captures the title the next month at King and Queen of the Ring from Becky Lynch. And that was seemingly the end of her revenge tour. She finally got her revenge on Rhea Ripley, even though she didn't directly do it. But she finally got the title. But it wasn't quite over yet. Liv beat Becky in a rematch, albeit with shenanigans. And then we got the kiss. The kiss seen around the world, unless you were in the United States, between Miss Liv and the future daddy Dominic Mysterio. who would become the next phase in the revenge tour. Yes, the next phase being full of lust, full of love, full of freakiness. Yes, I said freakiness. And full of will he, won't he, or may he, or he will. Yeah, that's pretty much the summer of Liv. A summer of Liv going after Dominic, Liv trying to win his heart, Liv trying to steal the rest of the Judgment Day. What now? Would she be successful? Well, we were about to find out because Rhea came back sooner than expected, and it ended up being a sign of things to come, though. But there's still questions. There's still questions even when Rhea came back. Like whether Liv was truly in love with Dom, was she just using him to screw over Rhea? Even if Liv explicitly said that right in front of Rhea's face, how is Rhea gonna react to all of Dom's shenanigans? Like so many questions as they built up this big major match at SummerSlam for the title. But those questions were answered in the big climax of this feud. In the land of the skid marks, after Liv had beaten Rhea in a pretty good match, probably the only good match of this feud, in my opinion, that looked very similar to how Dom accidentally, in quote air quotes, cost Becky. He did so to Rhea as well. But oh no, this was no accident. As after the match, he picked up Liv right in front of Rhea, and he revealed his true feelings to the whole world, to his new Garita, and then laid on one big, passionate, tongue-filled kiss, and left his mommy an emotional wreck. And, whoo! You'd think that we'd have one good power couple in the WWE, like, since then. And you'd think that this feud was gonna be reach a big, powerful point by the time we got to the end of the year. You thought the feud would reach a higher peak after SummerSlam, and Liv and Dom were about to reach big heights, and Rhea was about to garner an even bigger popularity. But then the everything that happened after SummerSlam didn't sit well. It didn't sit well for me. It didn't sit well for a lot of people. But somehow Triple H managed to mess things up. And that's where I feel like things went very wrong with this feud. Because nothing of substance has happened in the 6 months until the very end of this feud. Because all you got for 6 months was Rhea getting angry, attacking and chasing off Liv and Dom and the rest of the Judgment Day, barely facing any of the consequences of her past actions. She would just dominate the rest of this feud. It was just basically rinse and repeat of the same entire thing. It was like watching a rerun of SpongeBob SquarePants. No, not even SpongeBob SquarePants. A rerun of Ed, Edd and Eddy. Like, you're getting scammed. Like one of the cul-de-sac kids getting scammed by the Eds. I guess that's a good summation of it. Or maybe a cutaway gag from Family Guy, like a rerun of a bad cutaway from Family Guy. So, yeah, Liv gets pinned by Rhea on 2 occasions. First in Berlin, and then at War Games, and then eventually, yeah, she fails to get the title back at Bad Blood because she won, but by DQ. And then that's where Raquel returned. And then even when Raquel returned, it didn't matter because she lost to Rhea and she got her butt whooped by Rhea on multiple occasions, like Liv. And then eventually Rhea got the title back on the Netflix premiere. And that was pretty much the end of it. So, yeah, it's been about 2 weeks since this feud has ended. And I pretty much gave you a pretty long summation of the feud. I mean, yeah, I kind of had to because like that's pretty much how a lot of substance. There's a lot of substance to what feels like a pretty personal feud, but then at the same time, when you look at it, they didn't really make it a personal feud. Like they really didn't, because that's pretty much a summation of everything that's wrong. That's pretty much everything that could have been, should have been with this feud. But instead, Triple H did pretty much almost everything wrong with this feud. He pretty much like sent that feud into oblivion, no pun intended. He pretty much, I don't know what the best phrase to say it, but I feel like he did that feud a disservice since SummerSlam. I mean, I saw the warning signs. I saw the warning signs at SummerSlam when he created the Judgment Day 3.0, when it lost a lot of its strength. And I get it. Like, when they lost Rhea and Damian from that group, like, they looked like a bunch of jobbers from that group. And they could have like counteracted that by making them smarter, not working harder. But they didn't. Triple H made them all look like goofs. And then when you get to Bash in Berlin, everyone was predicting, oh, they do a crash out or something. They attack Damian post-match, or like during the match, they take him out. But no, that didn't happen either. And then I was kind of fed up. I was kind of done with the feud. And then as we get into almost everything that went wrong with this feud from my perspective, you'll see why. Like, there's just so much with this feud, wrong with this feud. You see people like voicing their criticism on Twitter, on social, on Instagram, on YouTube. Sure. Like, it doesn't match what's happening on the live crowds, because I'm sorry to say it, but the live crowds are a bunch of sheep. They're sheep for what they see happening in person. They're crazy what to tell you. I know what they're saying, that real life is not reflective of what happens on social media, and some of that's true. But when it comes to social media, like, at some point, Triple H has to listen. He has to listen, and honestly, he didn't listen when it came to this feud. So let's talk about what went wrong with this feud. I feel like the first thing that he did wrong, Triple H, that is, what he did wrong with this feud was having Liv Morgan return too early. Like, I feel like he made a return at the Royal Rumble, but he didn't have her win it. Like, I feel like that was a great opportunity. I know he is dead set on having both Bayley and Becky win, like, the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, but having Liv return to be the Royal Rumble runner-up, as well as the Elimination Chamber Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber Rumble runner-up, try saying that a million times. The runner-up to the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, the runner-up to both matches, it just felt like a early disservice to what she was trying to build up, what she created, what she wrote up, she pitched for her return. It felt like a disservice. It made her feel like a chump early on, and it destroyed the early credibility to what eventually destroyed the credibility to what she did later on with the Revenge Tour and during this later in the post SummerSlam. And while it did at least add fuel to her desperation with the Revenge Tour character arc, I felt like if Triple H held off on a return for the night after WrestleMania, when she did the backstage attack on Rhea, or maybe even like, an entrance, and then attack Rhea, or maybe a sneak attack behind her, I felt like that would have been more impactful. That would have been more impactful for Liv, rather than have her return at the Royal Rumble, announce her intentions of the Revenge Tour, and then lose. I feel like a lot of her credibility got shot right away. Like, and then she had to rebuild it. That's why I called it the Liv Morgan Rebuild Tour. After she lost both matches. But yeah, what can you do? What can you do now? So when it came to everything that happened post SummerSlam, there was so much that went wrong too. Like, they merged the Liv Dom / Rhea and then the Damian / Finn Balor feuds together. Like, that was mistake number one. Like when you had the implosion of the Judgment Day 2.0, like you had those betrayals executed pretty well. Like Dom betraying Rhea by giving Liv Morgan the kiss heard around the world again, only this time with purpose. And then you have Finn Balor turn on Damian Priest that same night. I feel like that should have been the end of the Judgment Day, like for good. I mean, you could have had, Dom and Finn and JD, be associates with each other, but the Judgment Day shouldn't have been anymore. Because when you did the Judgment Day 3.0 with what they are now, they became fodder to the Super Terror Twins. Like that's super booking. That set them all up for failure. And look where they're at now. They're a completely broken mess trying to like rebuild their stock. Now it's right now it's only benefiting Liv and Dom right now. They're trying to rebuild. Everyone else is just background players. So rather than what we ended up getting with the Liv Dom versus Terror Twin disaster in Berlin, what should have happened was Liv and Dom doing their own thing with Rhea, and then Finn and Damian handling their own business. Like I pitched in that video with my early thoughts on the Judgment Day 3.0, like right after the Raw after SummerSlam. Pretty much like how the Shield first broke up in 2014. When Seth Rollins betrayed Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, it should have been how that was. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose feuding with each other while Roman Reigns was focused on his pursuit of the World Heavyweight of the WWE Championship. That's pretty much how it should have been. Like merging both feuds together as like one whole story, it killed the momentum of both of them. Like it took way too long for Damian and Finn to get anything going because they were stuck in the vortex of Liv and Rhea. Like as if like Damian and Finn were non-existent in their own story. It took them way too long to get anything started. And by the time we got to Bad Blood, nobody cared about that match. Like everyone went to go to the bathroom. And when the wrong person won that match, it's like Finn was already dead in the water than he previously was. Like as if the betrayal at SummerSlam didn't happen. So it's like it didn't matter. Triple H made this too one-sided, especially with both of these feuds merged. The other mistake that he made, the exact same segments on repeat since SummerSlam, and maybe you should have seen the writing on the wall when Rhea came back, because most of Liv and Rhea segments were either a promo of the material about Liv, welcome to the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, oh my daddy Dom, or when it came to Rhea, it's like, Rhea Ripley, I'm gonna get the title back that I never lost. Mommy will always be on top. It's basically the same promo material that we've gotten. It's like we haven't even gotten any substantial material about the history, which we'll talk about in a bit. But it's either the same promo material that it's been regurgitating for like the last 6 months about the things that I just mentioned, or it's Rhea coming out to attack Liv and chase her, Dom, and Raquel away. It's like nothing new. And continuing on with that point, neither have gained any notable character progression since SummerSlam. Because with Liv, you can kind of make an argument with her not making any character progression because she basically accomplished everything that she did in taking everything Rhea had, or at least previously had, minus Damian Priest. So her pro material was stagnant, but I feel like she could have pitched something, or Triple H could have done something to, adjust, to adapt, because she went from the Revenge Tour to the World Tour, which that World Tour was pretty non-existent though. But still, they should have adapted sooner than later. But again, Rhea Ripley was much worse with the repeated lines of the title I never lost, even though she lost on multiple occasions trying to get that title back. Then the third thing, not using Liv and Rhea's past history to its full potential. Liv at least addressed her full history with Rhea, like right from the jump when she came back in that Elimination Chamber go home show with Becky. But with Rhea, she'd like vaguely address it in like those like pre-tape packages. It's very weird in itself because WWE was trying to paint Liv, even when she was addressing her history with Rhea, as the villain. When you can go on YouTube, go on the playlist, find one of those WWE playlist things that they have. Rhea was the villain when she attacked Liv. And Liv is explaining everything that happened with her history with Rhea. Before then, she was the babyface. Like Liv was the babyface, but yet WWE is using that to reverse history, reverse the roles. I was like, huh? And then I get it. In the storyline context, Liv did go beyond the intended revenge, but still, don't try to rewrite history. Like, don't insult your audience. Don't make them feel stupid. Don't try to you're trying to make me feel like I don't know shit. Like, you're trying to insult your audience when they can go easily look this up. I mean, for as much as I say, oh, like we should have to look up everything. I mean, you're blatantly showing your audience something that happened 2 years ago when Rhea was the babyface. Liv was the babyface, getting attacked by Rhea the heel, and then you're trying to change history. So, yeah, that's a bad look. And then, speaking of which, of history, you didn't have Rhea acknowledge or show vulnerability for said history. Like, all we would get out of this feud for Rhea when it came to emotions was two of them. Angry or happy. But only happy if she was around Jey Uso. Which, by the way, that Gia shit, like, why were we wasting a month? Why are we wasting the Bad Blood feud, the build-up between Rhea and Liv, for some Gia shit? Like, what a waste of the build-up for that. Like, you could have used that time to, build up what I'm about to say. Because what Triple H should have done instead of, the Gia shit was, have Rhea finally address her past. Had Triple H, booked something like, Damian getting brutally attacked that rid him off for 2 weeks or something, or Dom give her the true "I hate you" speech after Bash in Berlin, then that would finally get Rhea to open up. Sure, it would make her lose her Stone Cold Steve Austin-esque character, or it would go against it. But let's be real, people. She is not Stone Cold Steve Austin, nor she will ever be. Let's stop pretending and stop comparing her to Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's only one Stone Cold Steve Austin. And there's only one Rhea Ripley. She's one Rhea Ripley. I'm trying to be fair to you all. I am trying to be fair to you all. And for as much as I dislike Rhea Ripley's character, and again, the character, not the person, the gimmick and the booking, it's Rhea Ripley. Like, there's only one Rhea Ripley, and that's Rhea Ripley. Like, she can be badass as all she wants, but like, in the context of this story, she has to address her past. She has to show some vulnerability. And she didn't show any vulnerability emotionally, and she barely showed vulnerability physically. On a side tangent, she barely showed like physical vulnerability against Liv. Like, Liv only got the upper hand like 2 or 3 times throughout this whole feud. So that should tell you how Triple H favorably books Rhea. But going back to this accountability for Rhea, like, imagine how much fans would have rallied around her a lot more, and really make Liv a bastard heel if Triple H had just let her cut a promo. Let Rhea cut a promo on how Liv is this, how she is now because of Rhea's past actions. How how Edge pretty much let Rhea be this way. Like pretty much how Rhea blames herself for making or letting her be influenced by Edge. Pretty much. Speaking of which, another side tangent. Why was Edge barely mentioned in the build up to it other than a fucking fan tweet? It's kind of dumb. And it just sucks. It just sucks that we never got any true character development from Rhea. And the sad thing is, the closest that we could have gotten to it was a backstage attack by Raquel and Rhea. But Liv and Raquel in the NXT parking lot. But instead, Triple H had her come back 2 weeks later before Survivor Series like it was nothing. Just with the face masks. And then, the last but not least, they turned Liv into a complete coward. And I know there's cowardly heels in wrestling, but she was just like, again, going back to the rinse and repeat booking. They made her run away like 95% of the time. Like on the surface level, she always claims that, oh, she outsmarted Rhea and all that and got what she wanted in the end. But, you know, all the running and hiding she did all these months in the feud, on the surface level, it makes her look dumb most of the time, along with Dom. You know, I was hoping that they make her put up a fight somewhat and be a smarter heel, but no, they didn't. It's just unfortunate. So yeah, when you look at it, this feud, a lot of bad stuff in it, like a lot of bad stuff, mainly a lot of rinse and repeat, and a lot of like logical gaps in it, and a lot of flaws in the story that I really couldn't get past. And I'm probably missing a lot of stuff too, because I was just so checked out by September that when it came to September, and it was a good timing too, because the NFL season was around the corner. I was just so done with like it was only like 3 weeks, 4 weeks since SummerSlam, and they're already doing this superhuman booking for Rhea and Damian. It's like I've already saw the writing on the wall that this was not going to go well, and I'm like I was dead ass surprised that this feud has lasted up until 2 weeks ago. So yeah, when looking at this back of this feud, this had so much potential of being like a pretty damn good feud, but Triple H just completely botched it. He completely botched it. But it was not all that bad, though. It wasn't all that bad, because for every bad that was in this feud, there was at least some silver linings. There was at least some silver linings when it came to it. Like the injuries. Yes, it's never a good thing to get injured, but I say had the injuries never happened, well, this feud may have never happened. At least the way it intended to. Because Liv's injury not only helped her pitch the idea of the Liv Morgan Revenge Tour, but she also noted in many of her interviews that her time away from TV, it helped her reset in all facets, physically, mentally, emotionally, and it gave her a different and hungrier mindset, and all of which helped her lead to her most successful year despite the bad booking. And, you know, good for her, man. And there's a reason why that PWI gave her the Comeback of the Year award in 2024. And I'll get into another reason why the injury was a good thing for Liv, but more on that in a bit, because, yeah, for much as I rag on Rhea, too, with their piss poor booking, again, not herself, just the booking. Rhea's injury when she had the backstage attack on Liv, it instantly gave her and Liv's rivalry the adrenaline shot it needed, because, I mean, yeah, they certainly could have gone into just the history between the two. But again, going back to the point, had Rhea not gotten hurt back in April last year after WrestleMania, this would have been a one and done match at Backlash. I mean, sir, they could have gone the route of Dom turning on Rhea and the whole Liv breaking apart the Judgment Day, but I mean, would have been. I mean, I feel like they still could have gone that route. I feel like they still could have gone both ways. It's still kind of gotten both ways. Liv destroying the Judgment Day while still taking Dom. I don't know. But either way, I feel like it still gave this injury with Rhea, it gave the adrenaline shot because, again, it gave Rhea a reason to come back and take care of business against Liv. And while it changed the direction, like the end game of the feud, which was a bummer, subjectively, but nonetheless, it still had fans buzzing of what was to come. And then looking at Dominic Mysterio, I haven't mentioned him a lot in this because I don't know why. Dominic Mysterio experienced, I'd say, the best success of his career, apart from his feud with his dad a couple of years ago at WrestleMania 39. I feel like this was his best major story, his first main character story, because his summer with Liv and with him and the rest of the Judgment Day, and him and Liv as a kayfabe mainstream couple, it's doing wonders for the WWE. And it's kind of a shame, like right now, that they're only getting breadcrumbs coming out of that story. And going back to them, their character work on both TV and social media, it's very good because you as the viewer don't know what their intentions are. And they're truly the ones that make you think, are they going this direction? Or are they going like that direction? Even now with the breadcrumbs that they're getting, they're making you think. And I know I'm kind of contradictory on this, hypocritical on this too. Like wrestling's supposed to be like a little escape of, trying to not make you think, but you're making you want to tune in on what they do next whenever they're on next. So they're doing a really good job of their character and their gimmick work and their story work. And then Liv Morgan, going back to my point of the injury being a blessing in disguise for her. Look at where she's at now, man, compared to where she was a year and a half ago. She's a main player now. She's like one of the most talked about names on the top players in WWE. She's improved in so many areas. Her character work, improved promos, wrestling abilities, and even if people want to keep on talking flag about her, she don't give a damn. She's grinded since returning. She's won the women's world title. She's had 200 days of it, although I wish Triple H would have gave her more defenses with it, but that's besides the point. And she was involved in a major story, regardless of the bad booking. And that included being in a lot of interviews on TV and radio. She even got a feature story on Entertainment Tonight. And she's garnered praise from her peers in and out of the wrestling bubble. So Liv Morgan had a 2024 to remember, and I hope it continues this year with an even bigger year. And Rhea Ripley, she's also maintained her popularity even while dealing with her injuries in 2024. She solidified her babyface role, even if her babyface character is pretty hollow, but still, she still has that popularity among the casual and hardcore fans. So, not all of this feud was bad. There were some things to like, but again, the positives don't outweigh the negatives as we come out of this feud. And as we're out of this feud 2 weeks in, as we head into the Royal Rumble, going to WrestleMania, where are they at now? Where are they at now? I know 2 weeks is only a short amount of time as we're about to enter week 3. As we're about to enter week 3 of the post Rhea and Liv saga. And that's if we're completely done with it, right? Right? So Rhea Ripley, she's again the Women's World Champion. She won it on the debut episode of Raw on Netflix. So 2.5 weeks later, she's about to get her first title defense in against Nia Jax, the upcoming Saturday night's main event special in San Antonio, Texas. Now, some people, actually a lot of people, are up in arms about this this match because, like people are saying, we're running back Nia Jax again. Really? So that's what people are saying. Now, I'm not personally up in arms about this as many are on social media because I just think this is filler. But that being filler, it lies the problem because that tells me Triple H doesn't have a plan. He didn't have a plan going into making Rhea the Women's World Champion, and he certainly doesn't have a plan after Saturday and going into the next month as we get into WrestleMania. Like, Rhea is getting a lot of flack for not wrestling last year, which was half understandable because she dealt with injuries. But now Triple H has to beat those allegations this year by making her wrestle more. She's got to book her in more matches. But there's just one problem. Rhea doesn't have anyone in the division to fight, just like she did during her first run. But what you're saying, Dylan, there's plenty of people to fight. But no, there isn't, because Triple H just introduced the Women's Intercontinental Championship, which is held by Lyra Valkyria, and Lyra is going to be facing a bunch of people that are going to be in contention for that title, like Dakota Kai, Zelina Vega, Ivy Nile, the No Pop Collective of Zoe Stark, Zoni Deville, and Shayna Baszler. So there's a bunch of people that are going to be vying for that Women's Intercontinental title. Hell, even Raquel Rodriguez is going to be gunning for that title if Triple H decides to book her in that. So, what about Rhea Ripley? Like, what's Triple H going to do with Rhea Ripley? I mean, yeah, everyone keeps clamoring for that WrestleMania match with Io Sky that they desperately want. But you can't just keep her waiting. You can't just have Rhea Ripley sit in the crowd for a month plus, just saying, "Oh, hey guys, hi guys," do the Chris Jericho thing, and just wave to the crowd for like a month until Elimination Chamber. After that, and he also just can't keep moving around people from SmackDown like he did with Bayley and Nia Jax and expecting it to work, whether it's during WrestleMania season or after WrestleMania season. And even if Becky Lynch returns, or Triple H does a mass exodus from NXT, or Jordynne Grace goes over to Raw because Jordynne Grace is expected to come from TNA to WWE, it's not going to be enough because that depth in the Raw Women's division is so completely lacking because he booked Rhea Ripley way too strong. He booked her way too strong, and he booked everyone else way too weak, way below their level. Like, the biggest threat to Rhea, he also killed that too. Liv Morgan, like, she's not the biggest in terms of size, but mentally, could have had her beat. And then where's she now? Can't even crack 5 minutes on TV since losing the title. Like, does Triple H even have a short-term plan for her? Like at all? Because all she's doing right now is, flirting with Dominic. I mean, not to say that's a bad thing, but, we can't always have 5 minutes of breadcrumbs. No, not even less than that. You can't have less than 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes of breadcrumbs every week of Liv Dom. You have to have Liv and even Dom do something more than that, especially in the most important time for WWE during WrestleMania. Why are they not getting substantial TV time after all the work that they put in during that story of last year? I'm curious. Like, and why is it the fact that during these shorties with Dom in the last 2 weeks, why is everyone in the IWC taking away from the fact, like, whether you're in the IWC or a casual wrestling fan, why are you taking away from the fact that she's eventually going to turn on Dom and side with either Finn or just go solo as a solo babyface? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, especially the babyface part. Like, when the roster is so riddled with babyfaces right now, like, why have one of your very few top heels go babyface? Like, it makes no sense. Especially, like, I get the sentiment, but there are no heels right now. Like, there are no heels. Like, and there's no one that makes sense to turn heel right now. Like, she's already had her revenge tour undone by Triple H, but to have all of her and Dom Stream's mainstream work and popularity that they gained undone too, as well as Liv's work in the last year undone, that's just terrible, man. So, to close this out, I know it's pretty lengthy. I didn't expect to go this long with this, but here we are. It seems like this feud's done, unless by some miracle chance, Liv Morgan wins the Royal Rumble, and we somehow are back to this feud. This feud had so much potential. It was just completely wasted by Triple H because he just wanted some cheap pops for his favorite in Rhea Ripley. But he let this feud drag on for 7 months past its expiration date without a plan during it and now after it. And now look at it. He's got to deal with the consequences of what to do now. He doesn't know what to do with both Rhea Ripley as the Women's World Champion. There's no depth on the Raw Women's division, especially now that he has a mid-card title for the women. And, well, with Liv and now with Dom, they're trying to make scraps of what they're getting worth talking about. At least they're trying. And as for Rhea in this Women's World title reign, let's just hope that it's better than the last one. That's all you can hope for. Especially for all wrestling fans out there. That's all I can say. So, yeah, I went longer than I thought with this topic. But there's a lot of things that I had to say when it came to putting a wrap on the Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley feud. And yeah, I'd like to get your thoughts on it as well. In the comments on YouTube, let's have a conversation about it. And you can also slide into the DMs. They're open on my socials at Very Cold Lasagna, or it's on Twitter or Instagram. And yeah, let's see where both of them go from here. And if they somehow manage to collide at WrestleMania, I'm kind of hoping they don't, because we don't know who will come out on top in the end. But yeah, we'll see where they go from here. I'm just curious what Liv Morgan's direction will be for WrestleMania. Let's hope it's not the White Six. But we all know what Rhea's direction will be at WrestleMania. But let's see what these next couple months will bring us. And I'm just hoping it's a happy one for Liv Squad. But anyway, that is it for this episode of Very Cold Lasagna. This rather lengthy one. I didn't hope it was lengthy, but here we are. I am your host, Dylan Lasagna. Thank you for tuning to this episode number 244 of this icy yet spicy podcast for all your filthy casual takes on the world of sports. And as always, keep the lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until I see you, when I see you in the next one, when we're back to football, talking about the NFC and AFC Championship games coming up this weekend. Until I see you when we're talking about that episode and that topic, peace out.